welcome to the JB Doula podcast. I'm Jessica Brown, a certified birth and postpartum doula serving families in the Western Pennsylvania area, and here we talk about all things birth work, womanhood, and the childbearing years. Plenty will still apply to our other parenting journeys such as dads, trans, and non-binary friends, and this week we start off the What is a Doula series, because it's just like, what is this odd word, a doula what now? So yeah, we're going to kind of get into this possibly unfamiliar word to you, because it's farther you get from the city, the more like, I'm not sure what this is, but someone recommended I should have a doula at my birth, or even my doctor might have. And it's like, yeah, you might want to consider one. And here we'll kind of demystify it a little bit and break down some of the what a doula does and what a doula doesn't do, and how they might be able to benefit your family. So let's get into it. So first off, a doula is a trained birth professional who provides guidance and support through the childbirth process. And the word itself, doula, is from the Greek word women who serve, and it was coined in the 1960s in this way to have a resurgence of a community-based maternity care. Because that's really what the idea of a doula came from, was this generational precedence we had, like ancestors and all the way back to as early as we probably began birthing, is we wouldn't do it alone or with just our provider and our partner if they were there. It's just, we did it as a community. Like, we had our closest friends and like our sisters, our moms, our aunts, our cousins, any of those people who provide us support, like they would be there and they'd be experienced in birth too. So they demystified it. They kind of like eased some fears, like, no, that's normal. Happened at so-and-so's birth. Totally fine. The midwife's got you. Don't worry. And they also are really experienced and knowledgeable in you. These are your friends and family. They know what you're like, and they know what you need. So they're just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like, oh, your hip hurts? Like, let me just rub that there. Or, oh, like, you're anxious? Like, let me hold you. It's okay. Like, you're doing great. This is gonna be okay. And just like this coming together and coalescing of family support and friend support for you at the center during this rite of passage into parenthood. And that's, in the 1960s, we're trying to pull up from twilight sleep, where you would go, basically we put on general anesthesia and be knocked out, and you'd wake up and you'd have a baby. And that's lots of evidence showing that that's not great, and it increases risk of postpartum depression and dissociation, all kinds of things. It's like, we don't want to be absent for the births of our babies. Like, that's just, it's not what we're supposed to do. So that's kind of where like this push for doulas came from, and why that word became used for a birth professional in this way, rather than the Greek word women who serve. So that's kind of the origin of it for us. But the concept itself is much older than the 1960s. This is ancestral. And a doula really is like trying to evoke that community-based maternity care, because we can't always come to our best friend's birth or our cousin's birth or our sister's. Like, we've become a lot more far-flung as people from our families. Like, a multi-generational household or even a tight-knit community is pretty rare, especially for a Western, like Western medicine culture, or Western culture like the United States. Often, like, we move across the entire United States from like Pennsylvania to California. That's a huge stretch. That's at least a 5-hour flight, and it's a multiple day drive. So what do you do when you're hitting this life stage of like, I'm gonna have a baby, this is huge, I'm becoming a mother, I'm becoming a father, parent, all of these things. It's like, there's a lot of changes about to happen, and who's gonna be there with me? And it's like, suddenly it's like, you might be able to get your mom or your mom-in-law, maybe a sister, to come, maybe not, because oftentimes, like, we're working well past our 60s now. Like, we continue to work to live. So sometimes it's just the availability of time isn't there to come and visit, and other times it's they have a family of their own, especially if it's like your sister or your brother. It's like, oh, like, I have 3 kids. I can't just go. I can't just leave my partner with 3 kids. So it's leaves you in this little fluxy limbo space of just like, I know I don't want to do this alone, and I know they love me and they'd be here if they could. but what do I do because they can't be here? Like, what is this? And it's like, that's where the doula comes in. Like, that's where our need like derived from. It's because we're in this modern context culturally where it's people have busy lives, and part of that busyness is derived from having to work to live. So time to call off, very rare. Like, you will know from just our maternity leave and paternity leave. Paternity leave, basically non-existent. You might occasionally have someone who is like, yeah, you can use all your vacation time. That's it. You can use up all those days. Or you can have unpaid leave, but like, you can come back in a couple of weeks, right? Or a week, a couple of days. And our maternity system, maternity care and maternity leave is not much better. They're like, you'll be done with this whole thing in like 6 weeks, right? Like, ready to come back, maybe. Like, we now, can't fire someone for being on maternity leave. Not necessarily the case for fathers and partners, but it's just like, this is lackluster. So having someone who isn't the immediate birthing parent getting paid time off, or even just time off for more than like a few days or a week at a time, it's really hard. And you need more support than just like a couple of days. So this is just, we're filling in a cultural gap. And it isn't to say that, that your community or your family and friends are failing you. It's that the system we live in is failing us. So we're here to meet those needs, because it's like, I'm sorry that they can't be here. And they want to be, and they can be. And then there's no pressure for them to have to overexert their resources that may or may not be available by staying longer than they really can, because they'll know someone else is there with you. And with COVID that happened too, there was a pretty big restriction on who was allowed to come into birthing rooms. So it took a while, but eventually doulas were considered part of the birth team, especially if they were certified, like they're quote unquote birth professionals. So your partner can be with you as your support person, or you can have one support person with you and your doula. That's for most hospitals that were happening during COVID towards the end of it. And who knows, it might come into effect again. But it's just this general peace of mind of just like, oh, like they're considered professionals and part of the team. So like they'll definitely be able to be there, even if I can't bring as many people as I wanted. And the benefit too is that they'll be there as like a cornerstone of your support. Like they'll be with you the whole time. And that way your partner can go out and like get something to eat, or go to the bathroom, or like take 5 minutes because they're freaking out and they're trying not to freak you out. So they're just like, let's recenter, let's reground. So having a doula there, because it's like, yeah, you can definitely do that. And you won't feel like you're abandoning your partner, because like, I'll be right here and we'll be here when you get back, and you'll feel better because you'll have, had a moment, maybe some coffee, and just feel refreshed. And that's awesome. Because it's a misconception. Like, we're not just here for birthing people. We're here for their partners, too. Like, this is a rite of passage for the whole family. And it's really cool, I think, that we've moved as a culture from pushing husbands and partners into the waiting room to just chain smoke and tear up the carpets with their pacing, to allowing them to be in the birth room and to be a part of that. Because it's heavy stuff. It's like, this is your baby that you guys made together, and you're welcoming them. Like, get to welcome this baby together. And I think that's really awesome. But it's also, they didn't grow up around birth. Probably not. And so this is all new and overwhelming. And like, you might feel prepared, but they might be just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, what do I do when my partner's in pain? How do I cope with that? How do I help them? Like, because it's a very like sticky spot to feel in, where you feel like there's a problem that you can't fix, because they may be in pain, but it's a productive pain of like, this brings a baby into the world, and we can alleviate it and maybe try to change it to just being uncomfortable or just an interesting sensation. But if you just leave a frightened partner who's just like, I don't know how to fix this, it can be really overwhelming, and it can make it hard for them to tune in and dial in to like the connection they have with you and the connection they have with their baby, and like getting to be just like having that weight off of their shoulders, like, oh, like so-and-so's got it. The doula is like, she'll let me know. The doula will let me know if things are getting weird, and if I need to be concerned. And if she's not concerned, then I don't need to be concerned. And I can focus on looking in my partner's eyes and giving them hugs and love and kisses and all these things, and just like feeling these moments and like being present in this moment of just like, oh, that's my baby. I'm gonna have a baby. Because we want you, like, we want that to be special and sacred and just like an intimate thing for you guys. And to not be distracted by like the fears and worries and concerns. Like let your birth team like kind of shoulder that and let us take care of you kind of deal. So yeah, kind of touched on it. Like doulas provide stability of availability. We definitely will have off. If you've hired us, like we will definitely be at your birth. It's not like, oh, my flight got delayed, or oh, I can't get off work from so and so, or my kid's sick. It's like, no, like we signed a contract and we're going to be here with you, and we'll be with you the whole time until like 2 hours postpartum. We're with you for the whole ride. And having that like security and knowledge of just like, this person will be there, or their backup will be there if there's like some extraneous circumstance, like my tire blew up, that kind of thing. It's just, you have these things already figured out, and you have security in that knowledge that like, oh, this person, they have my back, and they have my partner's back, and I can focus on my baby and like enjoying the rest of my pregnancy if I can, because I know it can get really uncomfortable. And a lot of times by 30 weeks, moms are like, I'm done. I'd like to have this baby now. And it's like, well, got a few more weeks. I'm sorry. I hope you find some enjoyment somewhere, or at least some comfort, because goodness, it's a lot. There's a lot of changes and feelings and uncomfortability and all that, especially in the summer. No one wants to be hot and sweaty in their third trimester. It's hard. But anyways, a lot of what a doula does at the foundation of it is information, education, and security in their availability, that they will be there for you, and they'll be there continuously, the continuous support and continuity of care. This isn't a shift change will happen, because that'll happen whether you're with an OB at a hospital or at a midwife center. There's usually a shift change. So the midwife you start with might not be the one that you have, or the nurses you like really got along with, they gotta go home. You've been there, just cross that time. It's time for them to go home, and they'll wish you the best and follow up with you tomorrow if you're still there. But like, that can be really disconcerting. It can throw you off your groove, and it makes you feel shifty. It's like, oh, like this doesn't feel secure, this doesn't feel foundational. It's just like, it's a lot going on. And having like your doula there, it is like that touchstone, that cornerstone of stability, of like, oh, like they're there, it's okay. Try to keep this rhythm I have going, this ritual of birth I have going, to just not get thrown off by the changes outside this room. But yeah, that's those general reassurances that things are normal, and then also helping you achieve informed consent, because to have informed consent, you should be informed. So that's like that precursor to your birth with the education information. It's just like, let's prepare you to be totally ready for anything that happens and feel completely capable of anything. So it's like, you may be planning and preparing for a natural vaginal birth, and then sometimes real things come up beyond just, that's a big baby and you're slow to progress, which are typically nonsense. It could be an actual emergency, or like a thing that's really like, I'm sorry you really wanted vaginal, but it's just like baby's transverse, like, and we can't turn them. They're laying the wrong way. They're not going to come out this way, and we've tried to move them and we can't. So having you prepared for those like possibilities that maybe we'll need to do something else, and making it so you still feel like you have a handle on it, that you've been talked to in a respectful and courteous manner, and then also intelligently, like you can make your own informed decisions, and giving you that space and time to make those decisions. And that's kind of what leads me to also, like, as a doula, we should not have any agenda beyond you making your own birth choices. That's mine. I want you to feel informed that any decision you make, you're confident in, that you're like, yes, I understand the risks, the benefits, and the needs, and the alternatives I have. And I'm choosing this because I think it's right for me and for my baby, my family. And that's what I want. And if that means you change your mind from having a vaginal birth or change your mind from a cesarean to trying for a VBAC, it's like, yeah, what you decide to do, because you've become informed, you've done this research now, you know what you want to do, then absolutely, I'll support you in that. I don't want you to feel like I have an expectation for your birth that I need you to meet, because that's not true at all. I've been to beautiful cesareans, and I've been to beautiful vaginal births, and it's just like there's a whole swath of births in between. It's just any way that your birth happens, I want you to feel like it's something you will look back on positively, and that you felt a connection, and you felt powerful, and you felt capable, and that you're like, yes, like I did do that, and this is amazing, and like I love my baby, and I'm not filled with thoughts of like trauma and regret. Like, that's my agenda. I don't want you to feel traumatized or filled with regret from your birth. And I'm not saying that will happen if you don't have a doula. I'm just saying it's less likely to happen potentially if you have a doula, because we cover a lot of things, a lot of potentialities, and really help you be prepared, so that way if things do change and go sideways or anything like that, you're not blindsided, and then you do feel like you had a say in this and that you were, given autonomy over your own body and choices. So that's really like the foundation, I feel. There's a lot of foundations, and we really build upon each layer. It's just, I really want to respect that every birth is different for every mom and parent. And it's just, I want to hold space for that uniqueness. Like, this isn't just another day for you, and it isn't just another day for me either. Like, each birth has like these shiny moments of just like, wow, that's really awesome. And like, I really feel like this powerful connection between you and your partner and you and your baby. And it's just like, that's an awesome moment. And I really want to help encourage those moments. And I really want to help encourage and empower families to like make those informed choices so they can have those moments. And yeah, I love birth, man. It's awesome. It's really cool. And I wish that our society was more structured to have those roots in community-based care, where you could have your sisters and your cousins and your aunts and all of that who are super experienced with birth and with you, and just like a coming together and all these things. But it's some people it happens for and some people it doesn't. Like, we have home births and birth centers and hospitals, and there's a lot of choices in between, and it's just trying to kind of hearken to that feeling, like something to work towards. Like, we've taken a detour, I feel like, with our maternity care, and trying to just guide it back towards at least resembles something that's what we've been doing for generations, that's worked for us for generations. Like, this is important, and I really feel it is, and I really want to be a part of like keeping that space sacred and holding that space for you guys. I know it's a little meandering. It's just a lot. It's a lot of things. And in the next episode, we'll go more into how knowledge is power in this case, and how having knowledge for your informed choices, how that cornerstone really works for you guys, and how a doula can help you get that information. And we'll go over a couple of like examples of things, like, where do you want to give birth? Is it at home? Is it a birth center? Is it a hospital? Do you know if you have a birth center near you? What are your options? So kind of going more into that in the details of informed consent, and how information and knowledge and your choices can help you feel capable of anything. So that was today's episode of What is a Doula? And if you like what you heard and you were interested, maybe share with a friend or like and subscribe. I'll have this on many platforms for you to listen to, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Happy birthing!